Okay, so silence. Silence is not always golden. We've been told that silence is golden. I don't know, you might have heard it growing up. But in a lot of situations, silence isn't golden. Silence is a warning sign that something isn't right. And I'm going to talk about that in just a moment. So, who am I? My name is Helen Goad, and I am the brain rewiring specialist. And what I do is basically help the brain respond and react in a way that you want it to, rather than a way that it has learned to. So, coming back to silence. Why isn't silence always golden? Because silence can be a sign that something serious is going on. Now, I have experienced this personally. I went silent. I did everything. I spoke up. I helped. I tried to fix. I tried to do all the things to get things moving forward, to get things better, to make things nicer, to feel better, to flow easier. But it all fell on deaf ears. So I went silent. I gave up. All the energy that I had spent and used on trying to move things forward had landed on, in a sense, deaf ears. So what did I do? I retreated. And when I say retreated, that's going silent. That's the emotional brain retreating back to the cave because it's safe there. When it's trying to fix things, when it's trying to help, when it's trying to make things better, but actually nothing happens. It gets to the point where it goes, I've had enough here. I've spent all the energy that I'm going to spend in this situation. So I'm retreating. I'm going back to my cave. But the cave isn't always safe. No, I want to rephrase that. The cave is safe, but it isn't always comfortable. So the cave can be damp. It can be dark. It can be uncomfortable. It can be cold and not a very nice place to be. But as I said, it's safe. Hence, retreating back to it and going back to that cave like the cavemen did in the old, years and years and years ago, many, 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 many moons ago. They went to the cave to be safe. So if you're finding that you're going quiet, or is your team going quiet? Because if your team is going quiet, then there is possibly, and 9 times out of 10, an issue. Now, the person in the team may have done everything. They may have tried to fix everything. They may have tried their best to do everything they needed to do and realised that everything has fallen on deaf ears. Nothing's worked. Nothing's helped. Work is becoming a place that doesn't feel comfortable any longer. So what do? Yeah, you guessed it. They retreat. They go back into the cave where it's safe. It might not be 100% comfortable, but the problem is by the time they've done that, the likelihood is you've lost them. The likelihood is that they're already packing the bag, getting ready to leave. And if that's the case, then you've noticed too late. Now, sometimes you might be able to pull things back, but it's going to be harder work than if you noticed the silence before it actually happened. If you notice that people were beginning to withdraw, not as talkative, not helping out, not contributing, not being part of the team, they've gone a little bit quiet. Then they go quieter still to the point where they go silent. So make sure that you're aware of that silence and treat it as something that you need to do something about very quickly before their bags are packed and they walk out the door. That's costly. We all know that that's very costly in business. But you might recognize this within yourself as well. Is the overwhelm getting too much? And you've actually retreated into your cave so that everything feels difficult, everything feels hard work. Because if that's the case, you're heading for burnout. And again, you need to do something about it now. So be aware of what's going on in your world. Now, take the vitamin. Don't wait for the ambulance to pick things up. And what do I mean by that? Look at ways to look after yourself. Look at ways to look after your team. Because when you're doing that, things grow and things flow. And you never need an ambulance. People stay because they're happy and they're comfortable. So, what does the vitamin look like in your world? If this sounds interesting, if this is something that you'd like to know more about, get in touch. Pop me a message. Anyway, make sure that you're the vitamin or that you're taking the vitamin and that you never need an ambulance. Take care for now.